Today we'll be talking about a fantasy action film called Along with the Gods. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. Somewhere in the population center of Korea, a large building is burning in flames while a firefighter named Han jumps out from the building trying to save a civilian's life. His robe is burned by the raging heat, causing him to fall quickly onto the ground without landing on the safety cushion. His entire life flashes before his eyes, but surprisingly, the man is able to wake up after saving the little girl from being killed. He gets up and rushes towards the girl's family, trying to see if the victim is hurt, but no matter how hard he talks, no one seems to be responding. Suddenly, he hears a voice calling his name from afar and sees two people in suits smiling towards him amidst the chaos. Han tries telling them to step away from the falling debris, but soon notices the firefighters trying to save a man who looks exactly like the main character himself. The woman named Chun tells Han that he's a paragon before he died, and they're here to assist him through the 7 trials of judgments. The other guardian called Mac tells him that their leader is waiting for them before the gates towards the trials, and they have to go there right now. Han has trouble taking all this information in and slowly walks away while looking at his comrades mourning over his dead body. He screams that he can't die right now as he wants to see his mother, but the man's body began levitating in the air towards the giant portal. Han continues shouting about seeing his mother, while the guardians are touched that he's so caring towards his parent even after death. They arrive in a different dimension where thousands of people are heading towards the gates of judgment, and Han meets the guardian leader called Rim, who's helped 47 souls to reincarnate in the past century. When the leader congratulates Han for being a paragon, the man looks away and declines, stating that he's not a good person at all. They enter through the gates of judgment, but are teleported to a nightmarish place full of lava called the Mountain of Murder. Mac is shocked to see their location and immediately questions Han if he's killed someone in his life, but the man denies having ever done something so terrible. Rim explains that causing someone's death indirectly through inaction is also judged by the trials, which may be the reason why they're here. Han arrives on a stadium where large doors on the ground opens up, revealing a giant pit filled with lava. The people who are punished try desperately to climb out, but they continuously burn inside the sea of flames. The prosecutors begin the trial by accusing Han of not saving one of his colleagues when he had the chance to do so, which eventually led to the man's death. They demand that Han suffers inside the lava pit for 5 years in order to atone the sin of not saving his friend. Rim defends the man by requesting to closer examine on what really happened at the incident. Apparently, Han did try to desperately save his friend at the scene, but they couldn't move the stone that the firefighter was trapped under. After realizing the hopeless situation, his colleague told him to leave and save the other civilians instead. Because of Han's decision, he was able to save 8 people that night. Rim argues that the man's heroism should be taken into consideration when judging his decision to leave his friend behind. Seeing the man's bravery at helping others, the judge decides to exonerate him from the charges and allow him to pass on to the next trials. Although Han has won the first hearing, he's greatly affected by the reminder of his colleague's death. He demands to know why the guardians are helping him, as he doesn't believe himself to be a paragon. It turns out that the guardians have their own agendas, as they made a deal with the king of hell who's called Yomra. If the 3 are able to help 49 souls to go through the trials and reincarnate within the century, they can also become humans as well. They eventually arrive at the trial of indolence, where Chun explains all the labors that Han has completed. The man has never been lazy throughout his life and always helped others no matter where he went. This even means knocking over a beehive and subjecting his whole team to terrible stings, or rescuing some grumpy cat on the edge of a building and breaking the owner's Lamborghini with his head. The judge was so moved by Han's contributions that she orders the prosecutors to immediately build a statue in honor of the paragon. However, when she inquires about why the man wanted to live his life so fully, Han replied that the reason was simply for money. Upon hearing the man's answer, the judge quickly changes her verdict and tells the prosecutors to send Han into the punishment, where a giant machine chases after all the people guilty of indolence, crushing their bones and feeding them to the fishes. The guardians try their best to help their defendant and begs the goddess to look closer at the man's life. The reason Han worked so hard to make money was because he wanted to support his mother who was sick and his brother who wanted to go to law school. Han worked so hard that he often disregarded his own health, and his desire for money is therefore not due to selfishness. After realizing the man's true motivations, the goddess finds that Han is not guilty as he only wanted to help his family. The group quickly boards the boat that will take them to the next location, but before they can celebrate, they notice that they're being pursued by numerous monsters. The team unleashes their weapons and tries their best to defend against the creatures. They're able to defeat many of the enemies by cutting them into pieces, but the captain eventually gets knocked over the ship and barely hangs on. Mac is forced to defend the ship all by himself while giving his leader the chance to recover. In the final moment, Mac strikes a large stone pillar that causes the rocks to fall, finally saving them from the monster's pursuit. The man explains that this can only happen because the family of Han has died and became a vengeful spirit. In order to stop other monsters from pursuing them in the future, Rim decides to visit Han's family in order to find out the truth about what happened. He goes to Han's residence and notices that the mother is clearly alive. This can only mean that it was the brother Su who died and turned into a vengeful spirit. The evil aura tries to run away while the guardian chases closely behind. Rim tries to stop the spirit by catching and using his weapon, but the ghost manages to avoid the attacks from behind. The two eventually clashes together and knocks the guardian away, allowing the spirit to disappear as Rim looks desperately for his prey. The guardian follows the trail to a military base where he noticed the soldiers talking about Su and referring to him as a deserter. What's even more curious is that the captain and one of his fellow soldiers is clearly hiding something. Rim disguises as a colonel of the army and proceeds to question the captain about Su, accusing him of killing the man. Surprisingly, the captain begins blackmailing the guardian out of fear, which further confirms that he's responsible for the brother's death. On the other side, Han is being questioned by the goddess of deceit and accused of writing numerous false wills and testaments for his colleague, which he failed to save earlier. He gave these writings to the man's daughter, lying to her by pretending to be the girl's father. The goddess immediately orders the man to be tied up and prepares to punish him by cutting off his tongue. Luckily, Rim is able to connect to his team through telepathy and argues for Han's actions. It turns out that he also wrote false letters to his mother, lying about how great his life is and how wealthy he became. Rim argues that these are all attempts to comfort the people that he cares about by providing them hope that reality can